interpretations made by FRCS. Importantly, these guidelines cover all of those complex issues where any taxpayer can go along and read those guidelines and get some case study examples as to how FRCS will make a decision in regards to a specific tax policy. What we've done since January with our new SIGs is make sure that when we are drafting these, we make best use of all the available resources, both internal to FRCS and external. For example, our recent SIG developments we have shared with agencies such as the FIA, the Fiji Institute of Accountants. So when we are drafting the SIGs, we go to them to get expert advice so that when the SIGs are finalised, we think they are in the best possible shape and the easiest format in terms of making them easy to understand for businesses and taxpayers. The other key achievements in 17-18, the alignment of FRCS staff salaries to the market and the reintroduction of health insurance for all staff. Obviously, I think we are all entering a period where we need to be aware of skills shortages and migration of talent from government agencies. And it's really important that we remunerate our people well, that we look after our people, that we become an employer of choice. And one of those key benefits, I think, particularly as we went through a pandemic quite recently, is that health insurance benefit for our staff. It shows that we care, and it's a key benefit that helps us retain our people in the current environment. In the same year, we commenced the modernisation of both customs and tax legislations, and that's an ongoing process. And we also introduced the Authorised Economic Operator Programme. And in brief, this is a little bit like the Gold Card customers for our customs people. We also designed and consulted on a new tax system, and that new tax system I think you are all well aware of now, the ENTIS program and the TPOS rollout of ENTIS. That should conclude this year. It's been perhaps one of Fiji's largest digital transformations ever. So it has taken some time. It hasn't been plain sailing, but I'm pleased to say that the introduction of that new tax system started in 17 and 18 will conclude this year, and it's the future for our collection service in a self-assessment regime. We also rolled out the electronic fiscal device systems in phases, and we're already now into stage 2 of that, contemplating stage 3, and the successful completion of our 2-year role at the time as the World Customs Organization Asia Pacific Vice Chair. Moving on from the actual report to some important highlights and future plans. As I mentioned at the beginning, a number of developments have transpired since the 2017-2018 fiscal year. FRCS underwent a major restructure, and the FRCS board, an entire senior management team, have been reorganised and for the most part changed. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a severe impact on our tax revenue, resulting in almost a 50% reduction. I'm pleased to say that this is picking up, with visible improvements, but the collections are still below those pre-pandemic levels, and that's a focus obviously looking forward. FRCS is also reviewing its strategic plans. Obviously, our proposed new purpose is to contribute broadly to the economic and social well-being of all Fijians by fostering willing participation in tax, customs and border security systems. So a focus on self-assessment and policies that support the fact that most Fijians want to do the right thing in terms of their tax and customs relationships with FRCS. In the short to medium term, some of the priority areas for me are to build trust and confidence in that self-assessment regime, and also to make sure that FRCS genuinely acts as a service-orientated organisation, moving away from its old authority days to one where we genuinely seek to give every taxpayer a concierge type of service, encouraging them to go online, encouraging them to modernise and transform in the digital era so that they can do their tax and customs affairs at a place of their choosing, at a time of their choosing, rather than having to come face-to-face into our customer service centres, although obviously noting Fiji's geographical spread and digital capacity and capability, the face-to-face customer service role is key and will remain. I'm also focused on being a lot more streamlined, integrated, and information or data driven. We have to use technology to allow us to profile and use specific intelligence, again, in that self-assessment regime to ensure that we make sure that whilst we trust everybody to be self-assessing, we do have a range of tools in our golf bag that we can apply to ensure compliance where necessary. But it will be data-driven. We are completing, as I touched on earlier, that implementation of the new tax information system project. We're also right now focusing very heavily on taxpayer education. And you may have seen our new Facebook profile and posts, and our posts on other social media and digital sites, because we understand that the majority of the Fijian people have access to these platforms. And very often, key to the successful implementation of any new project is how we take the taxpayers and the Fijian people on that journey with us, and bringing everybody on board and helping them. So it's about customer service, but it's also about focusing on education as we introduce those key new tax projects. As I've mentioned, the project will complete this year. We have 2 modules of the TPOS system left to roll out, that being the corporate income tax and the personal income tax modules, and they're on schedule to be completed by the end of this year. We're also identifying a way forward for our VAT monitoring system. As we touched on, that's been rolled out in stage 1 and rolled out also in stage 2. Stage 1 and 2 together constitute about 400 to 500 Fijian businesses. And it's certainly been successful within those businesses. But the future rollout to stage 3 would take an order of magnitude more businesses. So from about 450 to 500 businesses up to about 3,000. And we really need to make sure that if we do that in stage 3, we do it in a smart and sensible way, again, where we actually apply VMS where it's needed first. So where we see known areas of non-compliance, or where we see a new business, that would be a sensible place to go with the stage 3 rollout of VMS. What we need to be mindful of as the economy grows is not to prevent future growth of the economy by putting in place unnecessary additional compliance. So we're currently reviewing that stage 3 rollout of VMS to make sure it's targeted and used in an effective way, but again that we are trusting most businesses to do the right thing and using those VMS tools where they're most needed and where there is evidence of non-compliance. The last thing we are focused on, or I'm focused on, and I touched on it already, is becoming that employer of choice. I think every business, and FRCS is no different, has been through a significantly challenging period through COVID. And it's very important that we come out of that positively, and a part of that is valuing our people as an organisation. It's really important to me personally that every staff member within my organisation feels valued, feels like they contribute to the shared success of FRCS. We're doing a strategic planning review, as I've touched on, and part of that review process is to speak to every single member of staff because they care about the role that they do and they're proud of the role that they fulfil supporting government. But if they actually are part of our planning process from the bottom up, then when we finalise that plan, they'll also feel that they've been included and considered, and hopefully this will drive a one-team culture in FRCS. But it's also important that we recognise and reward them properly. As I've touched on, I think we'll all face a challenge in terms of retaining our skills. When I mentioned the fact that our NTIS program is the largest digital transformation that Fiji has ever seen, I believe, our people have learnt some fantastic skills through that period of the implementation. But those skills are very attractive to other agencies right now who are seeking similar transformation, and also attractive to our partner nations nearby. So retaining our staff, looking after our people is a key concern for me going forward. As I've touched on, that's complemented by a real focus on changing FRCS's culture and perception in the community broadly, from being an authority to being a very service-orientated organisation that cares about our clients. If we are to be successful as Fiji going forward, FRCS needs to partner with businesses to enable them to do better and to grow. We are in effect a stakeholder in every business in Fiji, and we'll take a fair and equitable and appropriate amount off that business in terms of their profits. But we have to do it in a way where we are a partner with them, and we will actually work with them to exploit the appropriate incentives, understand all the tax laws, and genuinely support them as they grow, and we seek to get our revenue levels back to those pre-COVID levels and then hopefully beyond in the future.